Hello and welcome to Design Santa Barbara. I'm Michael Kurash and today we are in Santa Barbara Design Center. You know we have some of the most beautiful homes in the world right here in Santa Barbara, and nothing can accent a home better than its landscape. So I'm excited to be talking with the local landscape architect, Robert Adams. Very welcome to our show, my friend.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, gladly. So we had a few questions for the viewers, and this is the first time we do some landscaping, and it's wonderful to have you as a professional. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I went to theater school when I did my first education and studied acting and directing and set design. And the set design part was so interesting to me. I, at one point, decided to become a architectural designer and found myself very attracted to outdoor environments. And so I looked into it and discovered there was a career called landscape architecture. So I apprenticed with a swimming pool company in Los Angeles, and they recommended I take landscape architecture courses at UCLA, which I did. And then I got further and further attracted to it, and then started attending Cal Poly San Luis Obispo for landscape architecture school. And many years later, I ended up with a license as a landscape architect. But what I do, and you will understand this, is I have so much fun designing things. Mainly what I do is design everything outside, from lighting to swimming pools to plants and pathways and arbors and structures, everything outside. This is the kind of thing that I design or have learned how to design. And I've been in the business about 20 years, and I'm just thrilled to be able to design because it's so much fun.
It is so much fun, it is. It's very fascinating. You become from an actor to a landscape architect.
Yeah,
that's
but
a long
remember
way
there
from
was
there.
set design,
Set design
somewhere
first.
in there.
Well, we live in the most beautiful place, and actually, I personally like the outdoors much better than indoors. You know, to be honest with you, I'm in interior design business, but I wish I was in exterior design business.
Well, you know what we have here? It's so interesting. In Santa Barbara, we have this wonderful climate where you have this sort of thing where the inside and outside work very well together.
Close together.
In other words, we're living in a place where you can spend a lot of time outside. And I think that's why people in Santa Barbara and Montecito love their landscapes and the spaces they can create just outside of their house.
And the other thing is, a lot of people get surprised when they come to our town. Nobody has air conditioning, because the doors and windows are always open, and outside is the most perfect air temperature you can get. So that's why we have also beautiful landscaping. What does a landscape architect actually do?
This is interesting because people get landscape architecture confused with landscape contracting or landscape building. What we generally do is we work very closely with clients, at least this is the way I approach it, to create with the client as a collaborator what they want in their exterior environments. We put together plans and drawings so that a landscape builder or contractor can take our drawings and build the dream that the client comes up with. And I help formulate that by drawing up plans showing pictures of different plant materials, different wall materials, different paving materials, different ideas of swimming pools. So what we generally do is we kind of focus on the planning part of it before it's built. And sometimes we get involved in overseeing and supervising some of the building as kind of a quality control. But mainly what we do is really planning, and it's a really interesting process.
Yeah, it is. I have seen it with the landscape designers. Basically, they come in there and what is existing, they usually change. But you start at the beginning of the building of a building, correct? Or you also do remodels
Well, a lot of times what my practice does is we either have a new building where we have to go through a planning and design review process, or we are rehabilitating an existing landscape. And what I like to do is, with my clients, is figure out what we can sort of keep in terms of bigger things like trees, and fill in and try to use what's already there, because it takes a long time for a big tree to grow. So I tend to anyway, try to use that in my designs. And there's this whole thing about existing trees and views. We sometimes call that the borrowed landscape. We're borrowing that as part of the view, but we may be doing all kinds of other things to help change a garden into a so-so garden into a beautiful garden.
Beautiful. Yeah, what you said about keeping the existing trees is wonderful. I think they have a soul. Old trees have a soul, and we should not cut them. We should work around them. Living in Santa Barbara during the drought, a lot of people wonder if it is okay to have a lawn. What are your thoughts about that? I mean, have a lawn, water it.
Well, the first
kind of lawn?
question I ask is, okay, so how do these clients, how do they want to use their lawn? Is there a need to run around with their dog or have their children play on the lawn? We don't really, landscape architects aren't really designing lots of lawn areas in our kind of climate because we have very little water. So we have to be very careful where the lawn goes. As a matter of fact, this is interesting. We're sort of seeing right now a whole trend of using artificial turf instead of lawn, because once you put it in, there's no mowing, no fertilizer, no toxic fertilizer going into the landscape, no water needed, just a kind of minimal upkeep. And they are developing artificial turf to look a little bit more realistic than just a flat green astroturf situation. There are some products out there that have a little brown and dead looking grass, even though it's made of plastic, that looks very convincing, like real lawn. The other thing we're doing too about lawns is sometimes we go for a meadow approach. So we'll take a native bunch grass that looks a lot softer, that takes a lot less maintenance, a lot less water, and we're sometimes creating low meadows that people can walk on and run around a little bit. But if it's heavy use, we tend to either go for a limited lawn area, just the amount they need, or an artificial turf situation.
Wonderful. And water usage compared to, let's put it regular landscaping, put, sages and roses, compared to lawn is big difference, correct?
Huge difference. I remember in front of the house I live in downtown Santa Barbara, we took out this lawn in the parkway. That's the area between the sidewalk and the street. And we took out lawn and we put in some very drought tolerant low things there, interesting succulents and whatnot, more interesting parkway, if you will. And we ended up saving 60% on our next water bill.
Oh, wow.
After we made that change. So it's significant when you have lawn, how much water you have to pour on that to really make it look great all the time. So because we've been in this extended drought, I hope we get over it soon, but we may not. We may have to live with this for many years. We have to be very careful about the lawn that we use.
Well, it's called global warming, I suppose. Maybe, hopefully not, but it seems like we're going to be in it for a while.
Seems like that.
Tell us about some of your recent projects.
Okay, so
what have you done? Grandeur, big, small? Tell us.
Well, some of my projects actually get built. Some of them are still in the planning stages. Right now, one of my projects is a really exciting public artwork called Wings of Honor at the Santa Barbara Airport. And we don't quite have funding yet, but we're in the process of doing a lot of planning. And where I come in is I'm not the public artist that's creating a sculpture, but what I do is I create the setting for that sculpture so people can go up to it, walk around it, be surrounded by planting, and it's right in front of the terminal. But that's still in a planning process. So a lot of projects they have are in planning. Some things get built. Right now, I'm building a big estate right on the beach, south of Montecito, near where some of the flooding happened. And it's really exciting to see this big seaside landscape come together. And we're working with the client to actually get built wonderful sort of outdoor rooms. We have rose gardens, we have a cutting garden, we have a butterfly garden, we have a swimming pool. It's very interesting to see all that come together. And right now it looks like a big construction site, but in about 6 months it's going to look absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, maybe in 6 months you should come back and show us some more of those pictures.
That's right.
Butterfly room, man, that's extravagant. Beautiful.
Yeah, and butterfly garden is something where it attracts butterflies, and the client doesn't like bees. So we figured out how to bring in plants that attract butterflies, but not bees. And there's like butterflies, like people, like wonderful looking flowers. So there's different shades of white and purple and lavender colored flowers that we're going to create this little habitat for the butterflies.
Nice.
And we hope they'll come right in.
They will come. You create, they will come.
Yes. Very
Robert,
good.
this is fascinating. We have a lot more to talk about, so stay tuned. We will be right back. Stay tuned. There is more Design Santa Barbara after the break. On this edition of Michael's Minute, I would like to talk to you about mid-century modern furniture. Mid-century modern is described as the period between 1933 and 1965, in which designers such as Eames and Nakashima used clean lines and futuristic materials to propel design into a post-war era. At Santa Barbara Design Center, you can see and feel a variety of mid-century inspired furniture, including our signature leather chairs and recliners with classical wood frames. Accent them with side tables, daybeds, ottomans for a slick, artistic look. Customize these pieces to fit your home perfectly. To bring mid-century modern style to your home, please visit us at Santa Barbara Design Center, 410 Olive Street.
Welcome to Rugs & More. We provide the West Coast with the most comprehensive collection of new, oriental, and antique rugs. Rugs are solid art investments and often become cherished family treasures. Our limitless inventory will warm up your home. Exotic or traditional, tribal or modern, our rugs weave stories through intricate patterns, compelling colors, and touchable materials. Number one in Santa Barbara for over 20 years. Visit us today at Rugs & More, 410 Olive Street in Santa Barbara.
Welcome back to Design Santa Barbara. This week, I'm joined by Santa Barbara landscape architect Robert Adams. Robert, thank you for being here.
Great to be here with you.
This is going to be a great show. A lot of viewers are going to get a lot of information out of you for free. Here we go. How does landscape architecture in Santa Barbara vary from other places?
It varies from other places because every location has a certain climate. I worked in the Aspen, Colorado area, and what we did there is we developed a lot of high mountain gardens. Well, of course, Santa Barbara, we live right by the ocean, Montecito as well. So we have this seaside conditions with lots of fog, and it's a little bit dry, and you can grow a lot of different things. You can grow things that don't freeze up under about 20 degrees.
We don't get 20 degrees here, do we?
No, we don't.
Ever.
And that's why you can grow sort of warmer weather things. And we can grow a lot more plants than you can find in the desert because it gets too hot in the summer and too cold in the winter. But here we have a kind of an in-between temperature. There's sort of a warm blanket near Santa Barbara being so close to the ocean. So a lot of times we have to look to see what can do well by the seaside. I'm working on this project right on the ocean's edge, and I have to be careful about making sure I use seaside tolerant plants. Well, what's seaside tolerant? That means plants have to thrive in conditions of salty air, foggy air and the general warmth. But our gardens are so beautiful here because it is warm and we can grow so many wonderful things. And a lot of our plants that do well here are either natives or they're from the Mediterranean. Things like lavender and roses and citrus trees thrive here.
Is there short or long-term value in re-landscaping?
Yeah, the long-term value is that when you re-landscape and use a little bit less water, because what I have to do as a professional is just to make sure we minimize water use because we have a shortage. The long-term value of that is not only do you save resources, but when you redo a garden, you can create these wonderful rooms that your whole family and all your friends can enjoy. You create a better outdoor environment for entertaining. You create more interesting ways to walk around to different parts of the garden. And with landscape lighting, you can even enjoy some of these gardens into the evening hours with a little bit of minimal landscape lighting.
And besides that, also adds to the value of the house, which
Yes.
in the short and long term, we can capture the money out of it.
You're right, especially
That's what I think most
when
people
you-
care about, believe it or not.
Absolutely. When you re-landscape a house, it makes the whole environment feel better to your potential buyer. And so it makes it a lot more appealing when you have a nice kept up landscape that looks sharp and is water conserving and takes less maintenance. The more beautiful the exterior of a house is, the quicker you can sell that house.
Called curb appeal. Does the city or county typically have a review or approve new landscape designs? Do you have to go through a process like that, or how
Yeah,
does that work?
typically the city or the county likes to review the landscape when you have new architecture. The new projects, as you know, Santa Barbara's very careful, whether it's the city of Santa Barbara or the county or in Montecito, they're very careful about their new buildings. And along with the architect and the architecture, they like to see the landscape architecture, and they like to make sure that the landscape architecture plans reflect a certain kind of water conservation and make sure that they're appropriate for the environment. They do often require landscape architecture plans for new buildings. When you're redoing a garden, if you're not necessarily adding a bunch of new trees or new fences or new walls, typically there's no design review. You just kind of, get rid of your lawn and create a new planting schemes with lower water using plants that are quite beautiful. And typically they don't require any kind of design review for that. It's interesting.
Oh, beautiful. How important is it that a landscape project be more water conserving, especially nowadays in this environment we have?
Well, one of the things we do is we're getting into technology where we're using irrigation systems that have a controller that is high technology that measures the kind of weather and the temperatures, and it will shut down the irrigation system if it can tell if it's raining. We have different rain sensors and different climate sensors, and we're sort of using these irrigation systems to respond to all the technology that we have. It's really interesting. So what we often do on irrigation plans is we have a weather smart controller that can tell what the weather's going to be and can really help you conserve water.
No, that's actually a good thing. I see rainy days, and some farmers out there, not necessarily people, but farmers are just going with a heavy usage of water. Well,
Yes.
it's not needed. So
Of course, they need it for all their fruit trees and
yeah,
all their
not in the
crops.
rain, I suppose. But hey, all right, Robert. Maybe kindly, can you give us, our viewers, a couple of tips? What can they do to the landscape?
Well, one of the big tips I have is is creating an outdoor entertainment space. And here's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about outside, finding a place where you can find some very comfortable to sit on outdoor furniture. Outdoor rooms and outdoor furniture are really taking off. They are becoming more and more popular because it helps you create this extra outdoor room for entertaining. And sometimes you have to create like a deck or a paving place. You have to carve out like an outdoor room. And what I often say to clients right off the bat is let's find some really comfortable outdoor furniture with big cushions and comfortable places to sit. And the more comfortable it is, the more your friends and your family is going to love to gather around and have conversations around a fire pit. And you can have the outdoor grill right there. And another trend that some of my clients are doing right now is they're building pizza ovens. They're actually building pizza ovens out of masonry and stone where they cook pizza outdoors, and it's so wonderful tasting because usually these pizza ovens are wood-burning pizzas. Can you imagine having a wood-burning pizza in your backyard and being able to cook for your friends or your family? It's magnificent. Beautiful. And the other thing I would recommend is look at some minimal outdoor lighting to enhance the landscape on the entry to the house and also in the back of the house where you might have an entertainment area. Little landscape lighting goes a long way in terms of making something very romantic to be in and creating kind of a wonderful atmosphere.
Awesome. I'm going to get you a card gift to all my friends to build that pizza oven
That's
and the
right.
barbecue. Thank you. That was a good tip. Thank you very much. So my last question would be, please tell our reviewers how can get a hold of you, and more information would be great.
Well, you can
and my friends.
Yes, of course. I have a website called earthknower.com, EARTHKNOWER.com, like Earth Knower, someone who knows the earth. And you can go to that website and you can contact me through there. And there it has my phone number and all that. And set up a meeting, have me look at your garden, and we'll talk. And I guess what I would like to say about my landscape architecture practice is I work very well with clients. I want that garden to be their creation, and I am there to help. That's the way I see it. It's a very collaborative process. I will point out the quality materials like outdoor furniture, outdoor lighting, or the appropriate plant material, but I really like them to have a hand in creating the garden with me.
That's
so
wonderful.
They are my design partners.
That actually is the right way of thinking. Wonderful. Thank you, Robert, for being on our show and telling us about the importance of landscaping in our beautiful city of Santa Barbara. We will be right back with more Design Santa Barbara after this break. Stay tuned. There is more Design Santa Barbara after the break. This week on Design FYI, we're going to talk about sofas and the unknown mistakes people make. Did you know average American spends 46 minutes a day in a car? But they spend 5 hours and 4 minutes on average on a sofa. So why would you go out there and spend tens of thousands of dollars for something you use for 46 minutes and then go ahead and buy something cheap that you sit on it for 5 hours and 4 minutes? At Santa Barbara Design Center, we create you a custom sofa that is made for you specifically and to your shape and size and comfort and your family. So when you're sitting and watching TV or talking and conversing with your friends, you're sitting on actually something that represents you. Your car represents you. Why shouldn't your sofa? Thank you for joining us on Design FYI this week, and please come see me at Santa Barbara Design Center, 4th and Olive, and let me help you find the right sofa for you and your family. Today on Appraisals, we have these beautiful, stunning Chinese roof tiles. The intriguing part about these Chinese roof tiles is that not too many of them survived and not too many were produced to begin with. They were only allowed to be used on official emperors' offices or high offices of the government back in the 17th, 18th centuries. The dragon is basically the symbol of Chinese emperor, and only imperial offices were allowed to use. The unusual thing about this particular one is one side is a dragon, the other side is a phoenix. Again, in old cultures, they were hoping of these two mythical creatures to meet each other and basically have a fight, because with their tear, blood, and sweat, rain created, and when they yell at each other was a thunder. I followed that. Every culture has this, especially the Eastern cultures specifically. They're beautiful, they're in perfect condition. Usually you don't get them in this shape because they are 200-300 years old and they are made of clay and they are at the rooftop outside. So I've been fortunate to have these and I treasure them pretty much. So you have seen the dragon side. Let me flip it around and you look at the phoenix side of it. All right, now you look at the other side of it. See how beautiful and intricate this phoenix is. These are done by hand. There's no machines or there is no special tools to make them. They made them, they took them up all the way to the top of the roof and installed them. So lucky they're not in California, otherwise the earthquake will shake them and drop them. But they are here and it's just mind-boggling how beautiful they are, and they create a beautiful sensual feeling. I love mythical animals. In today's fair market value, I appraise them for $10,000 to $15,000. Thank you for joining us for this week's appraisal.